Teresa Torres was a young woman and the seventh one born in a family of 13. As she grew up, at the age of 7, she started working on the land and helping with the housework, which was a lot because it was a big family. She attended school for 3 years, 2 to 3 days a week. When she was 13 years old, her and her family moved to Arandas, Jalisco. Sadly, they only stayed for 1 year and went back to the ranch because they were not accustomed to the city life. They lived another 7 to 8 years in the ranch. Then they went back to the city and they all got jobs in factories. At this point, Teresa couldn't attend school because she had to continue working. 2 years after moving to Arandas, she met my dad, Guadalupe Torres, at a city celebration. She only got to see him once a year for a month because he lived in the United States and could only visit once. That went on for 3 years. Then they got married on January 18, 1992 and came to the U.S. in exactly 15 days. Then they moved to a house that my dad and uncle bought. On December 3, 1992, 11 months after moving to the U.S., my older sister Nancy Torres was born. 6 months later, my dad sold his share of the house to my uncle and saved enough money to buy the house across the street. Within a year of moving to their current home, they let a nice couple that was like family, Otilia and Juan Lopez, rent the master bedroom for 4 years. They came along when my mom was 3 months pregnant with me. They stayed as a big family, helping each other financially. Oti was excited and anxious for my birth because she could not have children herself. On November 13, 1995, Oti was having a horrible headache, and a few minutes later she got the call that my mom was in labor, and later I was born. Oti saw me as if I was her own child. I was told that I would resemble her more than my mom. She eventually went back to Mexico, and to this day I remember crying, wondering why she wasn't home. In 2000, my mom received her residential visa, which took her 8 years to get. 1 month later, my parents returned to Arandas, and my sister and I met family for the first time, and my mom saw her family for the first time in 8 years. My mom said it was not the same because when I left, my younger siblings were still in the same home, and when I returned, they were all married and the house was empty because it was only my parents. We were there for 2 months before we returned home. My sister and I barely got to meet our great-grandmother because she died in 2001, a year after our trip. She was 100 years old. 3 peaceful years later, we returned to Mexico to celebrate my grandparents' 50th anniversary, or their golden wedding. Sadly, 2 of their children could not attend their wedding. Their wedding was still beautiful with a big family, the adults dancing and the grandchildren running around. A few days later, a special cousin had his first communion. The 4th month after our return, on December 18, 2003, my mom had her 3rd daughter. A few months later, my dad got to go to Mexico because my grandmother, his mom, got sick. My dad couldn't stay for long because he had to return to his family and he had to work. The day following his return, August 30th, 2004, my dad received the call to tell us that my grandmother has passed away. It was a hard time for my family, especially for my dad, and it still is hard when we enter her home in Mexico and see nothing but memories of her. It took us a while to get everything together, but we eventually did. Life went on as usual until January 2007, when we got the call that my dad's sister-in-law, my tia Anita, who had arthritis, died because of a car accident. We eventually recovered within a few months, but on March 2nd, 2008, my cousin with a mental illness died at the age of 13. This brought my mom and the whole Vasquez family down a lot because he made everyone happy with just his presence. Thinking of all the things that we have achieved and been through as a family shows that my family and I will support and watch each other till the end and know that we have family watching us from above.